Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world with me, Deepika, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Ukraine President Zelensky accuses his Russian counterpart Putin of already breaching Easter truce, says fighting ongoing in border regions. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reaffirms its military campaign in Gaza, says have no choice but to continue fighting until victory. Canadians turn up for early voting ahead of April the 28th election, sets new record of advance ballot on first day of polling. And Christians across the world celebrate Easter as it marks the celebration of Jesus Christ's resurrection 3 days after his crucifixion. A very good morning to all of you who are joining us at this morning broadcast on DD India Live. To begin with the latest. Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin has declared a temporary Easter ceasefire in the ongoing conflict with Ukraine, which is set to begin Saturday evening and will last until Monday. Now, the announcement came during a meeting with Russia's chief of the general staff, where Putin outlined the terms of the truce. Putin also issued a warning, stating that Russian troops should remain prepared to respond if Ukraine violates the ceasefire. Putin's ceasefire announcement came after US President Donald Trump on Friday said negotiations between Ukraine and Russia are coming to a head and insisted that neither side is playing him in his push to end the grinding 3-year conflict. Following the announcement, Russian Defense Ministry said it had given the instructions on the ceasefire to all group commanders in the area of the special military operation.
Based on the humanitarian considerations, today starting from 1500 GMT to midnight Monday, the Russian side announces an Easter ceasefire. I order a stop to all military activities for this period. We assume that Ukrainian side will follow our example. However, our troops should be ready to repel possible ceasefire violations and provocations by the enemy. Our decision regarding the Easter ceasefire will show how sincere is the readiness of Kyiv regime, its desire and ability to comply with the agreements and participate in peaceful negotiations directed at eliminating the root cause of the Ukraine crisis.
However, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky accused Russian President Vladimir Putin for already breaching the Easter truce. In a post on social media platform X, Zelensky said that fighting continued in Russia's Kursk and Belgorod regions and Russian drones were still in use, but added that some of the areas had been quieter. He reiterated his support for longer truce, saying that 30 hours is enough to make headlines, but not for genuine confidence-building measures. Now, 30 days could give peace a chance here. Meanwhile, in response to the ceasefire announcement, Ukraine's Foreign Ministry Andrei Sybiha, in a post on social media platform X, said Ukraine could not trust Russian President Vladimir Putin over his declaration of an Easter ceasefire and added that Kyiv stood by its original agreement to abide by a 30-day ceasefire. In a latest series of exchange, Ukraine and Russia on Saturday conducted their largest prisoner exchange since Russia-Ukraine conflict started over 3 years ago. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, in a social media post, said 277 Ukrainian service personnel had returned home from Russian captivity. He further added that the total number of returned POWs now stand at 4,552. While Russia's defense ministry said 246 servicemen had been handed over by Kyiv. It said a further 31 injured prisoners of war had been handed over to Ukraine and 15 of its own wounded servicemen had also been returned by Kyiv. After announcing a surprise Easter truce in Ukraine, Russian President Vladimir Putin on Sunday attended an Easter service led by Patriarch Kirill at Russia's main Christ the Savior Cathedral in central Moscow. Easter is Christianity's most important holiday that symbolizes the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Putin joined the believers for the overnight vigil in the company of Moscow's Mayor Sergei Sobyanin. Easter celebrations culminated in a grand midnight procession with crosses and icons and worshippers chanting "Christ has risen indeed." Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu once again announced on Saturday that Israel has no choice but to continue fighting in Gaza and vowed to eliminate Hamas. In a late-night televised address, Prime Minister Netanyahu said that he had instructed the military to intensify pressure on Hamas. Earlier this week, Hamas rejected an Israeli proposal for another temporary truce and demands a deal to end the conflict in exchange for the captives.
And further increase the pressure on Hamas. We are in the war of rebirth, the war on 7 fronts. This war has very heavy prices because any such loss is a wall in and of itself. But we, as the people who desire life, have no choice but to continue fighting for our very existence until victory.
עד הניצחון.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is facing an enormous pressure at home. On Saturday, dozens of protesters clashed with police in Tel Aviv as they were demanding an end to the war and the release of the remaining 59 hostages held in Gaza. Families of Israeli hostages also demanded answers from Netanyahu about his plans to negotiate on the return of remaining hostages. In a major development, Hamas on Saturday published a new video of Israeli hostage Elkanah Bohbot, marking the third such video of Bohbot to be published in the past month. The latest video showed Bohbot with a shaved head sitting in a small room, speaking on a landline phone, and he also appears distressed and desperate. Now, this clip also caused shock and concern about the safety of the hostages. Iran and the United States agreed on Saturday to begin drawing up a framework for potential nuclear deal. At their second indirect meeting in a week, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi negotiated for 4 hours in Rome with Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff through an Omani official who shuttled messages between them. Later speaking on state television, Araghchi described the engagement as useful and conducted in a constructive atmosphere. He also hoped Tehran will be in a better position to judge the possibility of reaching an agreement.
As I said, the negotiations were held in a constructive atmosphere, and I can say that they are moving forward, and we are moving forward. There is no reason for too much optimism. We cannot say that we are really optimistic. We must be very cautious, but there is no reason for much pessimism either. We must walk a middle path, reasonable and calm.
The top negotiators would meet again in Oman next Saturday to review the experts' work and assess how closely it aligns with the principles of a potential agreement. Moving on, now nearly 2 million Canadians voted on Friday, which was the first day of advance polling. The election authority said high early turnout was a sign of enthusiasm for the ballot in an election campaign that overshadowed tensions with its American neighbor. According to the Elections Canada, over 2 million Canadians cast ballots on Friday, which is a 36% increase from the year 2021. Voters have until Monday evening to file early ballots ahead of the April 28th election. Recent polling puts the Liberals, led by incumbent Mark Carney, at around 44% support, leading the Conservative opposition under Pierre Poilievre at around 38%. Smaller contenders include the left-wing New Democratic Party at 8% and the Quebec Separatist Party, Bloc Québécois, at 5%. Dan Caulfield, once one of U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's most senior advisors, issued a joint statement on Saturday along with 2 other Pentagon officials, casting doubt on an internal leak investigation that led to their ouster this week. Caldwell posted on social media platform X that we are incredibly disappointed by the manner in which our service at the Department of Defense ended. After Caldwell, the Pentagon also ousted less senior officials Darren Selnick, who recently became Hegseth's Deputy Chief of Staff, and Colin Carroll, who was the Chief of Staff to Deputy Defense Secretary Steve Fenberg. The statement by Caldwell, Selnick and Carroll suggested that they did not leak sensitive or classified information, saying, and I quote them, "We understand the importance of information security and worked every day to protect it," unquote. Now, although Caldwell is not as well known as other senior Pentagon officials, he has played a critical role as an advisor to Pete Hegseth. His importance was underscored in a leaked text chain on Signal disclosed by The Atlantic last month. Now, the U.S. top court has temporarily blocked the Trump government's deportation of Venezuelan men, citing concerns over lack of judicial review. The lawyers for the American Civil Liberties Union argued that the government is using a 1798 wartime law to deport individuals without a fair chance to challenge it. Now, this has raised questions about defying court orders and the risk of a constitutional crisis as well.
The Trump administration's efforts to crack down on unauthorized immigrants were paused on Saturday when the Supreme Court ordered a temporary halt to the deportation of Venezuelan men in immigration custody. The decision followed claims from their lawyers that the men faced imminent removal without the judicial review. Lawyers for the American Civil Liberties Union had filed urgent requests in multiple courts, including the Supreme Court, after reports emerged that some of the men had already been loaded onto buses for deportation. The ACLU argued the administration was using a 1798 law typically reserved for wartime to remove them without a fair opportunity to challenge their deportation as mandated by the court. The Alien Enemies Act authorizes the president to detain, relocate, or deport non-citizens from a country deemed hostile to the US during wartime. Trump invoked the 1798 law in an attempt to swiftly deport accused members of the Tren de Aragua, a violent gang originating from Venezuelan prisons that his administration classifies as a terrorist group. On March 15, the Trump administration deported more than 130 alleged gang members to El Salvador. However, many of the migrants' lawyers and families insist they were not gang members and were given no chance to contest the government's claims. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the Supreme Court's decision. However, on Thursday, President Trump questioned whether judges have the authority to block his deportation efforts after a Washington-based judge ruled that officials could face criminal contempt for ignoring an earlier court order to return deported Venezuelans.
Well, I'm not involved in it. I'm going to respond by saying you'll have to speak to the lawyers, the DOJ. I've heard many things about him, and we'll have to find out what the truth is. But I will say this, we were inundated by millions of people, many millions of people during the Biden administration. They say 21 million. And a big percentage of those are criminals, serious criminals.
The case now risks triggering a serious clash between the executive and judicial branches, potentially escalating into a full-blown constitutional crisis. Bureau Report, TD India.
Now, more and more people from France and across Europe are cancelling or postponing their trips to the United States. What used to be an exciting vacation idea has now turned into a complicated and uncertain decision for many French and European tourists. According to recent data from the US National Travel and Tourism Office, the number of tourists arriving from the European Union has dropped by nearly 17 to 18%. French tourists are among those changing their travel plans. Whether it's concerns about stricter immigration checks and a feeling that the US does not seem as welcoming as before, they now prefer places that feel safer, friendlier and easier to visit. Tour operators and travel companies are sounding the alarm too. Many European agencies report a similar drop in US bookings, some even more than 20%. Canada, Mexico and other European countries are rising in popularity.
For this summer, we have right now a decrease of about 20% sales because of the tense of the context of the political climate.
I usually take summer vacation to visit my family and my relative, but this summer I don't have any plans to visit the US until the things get normalized. So I prefer not go to the US for now.
Actually, I was planning on going in America for the birthday of my son during the summer, and we were planning on going for the north of America. But now with the situation happening in the United States, I think that better for us to go only in Canada, maybe in Mexico, but not in the United States. We'll wait for next time, I guess, to go there.
I think it's not safe to travel to USA now because of the policy. It's always changing, and I'm afraid that even if I have a visa when I arrive there, they will say, no, you can't enter. So yeah, I think it's not safe for now to go there.
Time to take a short break, but still to come on DD India Live. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman to visit the US and Peru from the 20th till the 30th of April. In IPL, Gujarat Titans beat Delhi Capitals by 7 wickets to go top of points table. And world number 2 Carlos Alcaraz advances into his third Barcelona Open final, defeating 7th seed Arthur Fils.
Nature gives and we take, and sometimes a little too much. But what happens when this balance tips and who is the most impacted? Let's take a look at some of the solutions that are trying to help these communities.
We want to encourage people to consume more local products. These were caught in environmentally friendly nets, not farmed. That makes a huge difference.
Project Tangaroa. It's working to build a global framework that can help identify which wrecks need to be taken care of first and find the funding for cleanup missions.
We use Esler organic fertilizer for our plants. With organic fertilizer, the yield is better and the soil's health improves.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India Live. Now in Bangladesh, a nightmare unfolded for the Hindu community. The brutal killing of Hindu leader Bhabesh Chandra Roy is not an isolated act, but a part of disturbing pattern. India condemned it, calling out Dhaka's silence. From temple attacks to targeted abductions, what is actually fueling the hate? DD India's Mihir Maikuri reports in a detailed description. Take a look.
Hindus of Bangladesh are living a nightmare. The latest blow is the alleged abduction and brutal killing of Bhabesh Chandra Roy, a prominent Hindu leader in the Dinajpur district. His only fault was that he belonged to a persecuted faith. Neighbouring India condemned the incident and slammed the Yunus-led interim government in Dhaka over the killing. India's Ministry of External Affairs posted on X, and I quote, "We have noted with distress the abduction and brutal killing of Shri Bhabesh Chandra Roy, a Hindu minority leader in Bangladesh. This killing follows a pattern of systematic persecution of Hindu minorities under the interim government, even as the perpetrators of previous such events roam with impunity. We condemn this incident and once again remind the interim government to live up to its responsibility of protecting all minorities, including Hindus, without inventing excuses or making distinctions." India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar recently told Parliament that 2,400 attacks on minorities were recorded in Bangladesh in 2024 alone. The year 2025 has already seen over 70 such incidents. But what makes India call this systematic persecution? The answer lies in a string of decisions, or the lack thereof, by the interim government under Mohammad Yunus. No crackdown on radical outfits despite repeated threats and attacks. Yunus lifted ban on Islamist group Jamaat-e-Islami in August last year. No arrests have been made in cases of rape, arson, murder and vandalism. Victims have been left without aid or justice. Bangladesh's government has stayed silent on fake blasphemy claims, emboldening mobs. One of the shocking Home Ministry directives released last year stated that Hindu prayers were banned during Azan and Namaz. From temples torched to communities displaced, each incident echoes a chilling message. Minorities are not safe in Bangladesh. Mihir Maikuri for DD India.
Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Saudi Arabia on the 22nd and 23rd of April, and it will be the third visit of Prime Minister to the kingdom after his previous visits in 2016 and 2019. The visit follows Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's visit to New Delhi for the G20 summit in September back in the year 2023 and co-chairing the maiden meeting of the India-Saudi Arabic Strategic Partnership Council. The visit also reflects the importance of India-Saudi Arabia bilateral relationship and further aims at deepening and strengthening the multifaceted partnership between the two countries as both of them share close and friendly ties with each other. And the visit will happen on the 22nd and 23rd of April. And irrespective, both the nations also hold a long history of socio-cultural and trade contacts as well, which will further deepen, enhance and progress as Prime Minister Narendra Modi will embark on his two-day visit to Saudi Arabia on the upcoming dates of 22nd and 23rd of April. Now, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will visit US and Peru from the 20th till the 30th of April. In the course of a two-day visit to San Francisco beginning the 20th of April, the Union Finance Minister will deliver a keynote address at the Hoover Institution at the Stanford University on laying the foundations of Viksit Bharat 2047, followed by a fireside chat session. Nirmala Sitharaman will also interact with top CEOs from top information technology firms based in San Francisco. She will also participate in an event featuring Indian diaspora in San Francisco and interact with the Indian community there. During her visit to Washington, D.C. from the 22nd till the 25th of April, Finance Minister will participate in the spring meetings of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. On the sidelines of the spring meetings in Washington, D.C., the minister will hold bilateral meetings with her counterparts from several countries. During her maiden visit to Peru from the 26th till the 30th of April, the Union Finance Minister will lead an Indian delegation of officials from the Ministry of Finance and business leaders, highlighting the strengthening bilateral economic and trade relations between the two nations. Beginning her visit in Lima, Union Finance Minister is expected to call on the President of Peru and Prime Minister of Peru, besides holding bilateral meetings with other ministers. In the course of a visit to Peru, the Union Finance Minister will chair the India-Peru Business Forum meeting. The Union Finance Minister will also participate in a community event at Lima, where she will interact with the Indian diaspora living in Peru. Now, in a move towards empowering remote border villages, the Indian Army has facilitated unprecedented mobile connectivity across the remote and high-altitude areas of Ladakh. Troops deployed in some of the world's most inhospitable terrains now have an access to reliable 4G and 5G mobile connectivity. The installation of multiple mobile towers on army infrastructure, including 4 key towers in Ladakh and Kargil districts alone, has proved to be a major morale booster for soldiers serving in isolated winter cut-off positions. It is a collaborative approach by the Indian Army and telecom service providers along with the administration of Ladakh. A particularly historic milestone was the successful installation of a 5G mobile tower on the Siachen Glacier, which is the highest battlefield in the world. Now, Christians around the world are celebrating Easter Day, commemorating the resurrection of Jesus Christ on the third day after his crucifixion. One of the most significant festivals in the Christian calendar, Easter is a symbol of victory of life over death, hope and forgiveness to the people. It is marked by celebrating by attending the Easter Mass, enjoying festive meals with their family and having egg hunts along with decorations and spiritual reflection. India's President Draupadi Murmu extended her greetings to Christians on the eve of Easter. In a message, the President said, and I quote, "The sacred festival of Easter, commemorating resurrection of the Lord Jesus Christ, conveys a message of selfless love and service. The sacrifice of Jesus Christ teaches us the value of renunciation and forgiveness. His life inspires humanity to follow the path of truth, justice and compassion. On this joyous occasion, let us adopt his life values and promote peace and prosperity in the society." Unquote. You're watching DD India Live, and now it's time to get to all the latest from the world of sports, to begin with cricket first. In the Indian Premier League, Lucknow Super Giants edged past Rajasthan Royals by just 2 runs in a thrilling encounter in Jaipur on Saturday. Avesh Khan waved his magic, defending 9 runs in the final over. The bowler took 3 wickets even as the Royals failed to cross the line after a flying start, and thanks to Yashasvi Jaiswal, who scored 74 runs off 52 balls. Earlier, Aiden Markram scored 66 runs off 45 balls, while Ayush Badoni hit 50 runs as Super Giants posted 180 runs for loss of 5 wickets after their captain Rishabh Pant won the toss and opted to bat first. Now, this was Rajasthan Royals' 4th consecutive defeat this season. In the match, 14-year-old Vaibhav Suryavanshi became the youngest player to feature in the Indian Premier League as he turned out for Rajasthan Royals and scored 34 runs. In the first match of the day, Jos Buttler slammed an unbeaten 97 as Gujarat Titans thumped Delhi Capitals by 7 wickets in Ahmedabad to climb to the top position of the table standings. Earlier, Akshar Patel and Ashutosh Sharma played vital cameos to help Delhi Capitals post 203 runs for the loss of 8 wickets. In tennis, world number 2 Carlos Alcaraz beat 7-seed Arthur Fils by 6-2, 6-4 to advance into his 3rd Barcelona Open final, where the Spaniard will face Denmark's Holger Rune for the title. 2-time champion Alcaraz, who claimed the trophy in 2022 and 2023, reached the 3rd final of the season after Rotterdam and Monte Carlo. Alcaraz saved the only break point he faced to extend his winning streak to 9 matches. Danish 6-seed Rune dispatched Russia's Karen Khachanov by 6-3, 6-2 in the other semi-final to advance to the 2nd final of the ATP 500 level. World number 13 Rune outclassed his opponent in the first set without conceding a break point. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.